Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF Hayomi Bava Basra. We're holding 6 lines from the top of the Amud Amar Rabba Bar Chan Amar B'Yechnan. Once again on the topic of right of way. So you have these alleyways through which you access the city. So the visitors from the other town would access this city using these alleyways. Hamufuloshes means they're open, they're exposed li'ir acheres, in the direction of the neighboring city into which they travel, through which they go to access this city. Ubikshu b'nei ha'ir l'soisman. And one day the locals decided no more traffic. It's getting too busy. We're going to block those alleyways. No through traffic. So the other the visitors will not be able to use this route to get into town. Can they do that? No. B'nei Oysa Ha'ir, believe it or not, the visitors can block that action. B'nei Oysa Ha'ir ma'akna lein, they can prevent them from closing off those routes. This is our route, even though it's in your city. And the Gemara explains, let me buy it. It goes without saying, Ki leka darka achrina, that if there's no other way to get in, this is the only way they can access the city. Of course, they cannot do that. They may akvi. So they can prevent them from doing so. After all, everybody wants commerce and visitors and business, right? So this is the way of the world. You can't just block out your city. It's not like, Stein, right? So of course you can't do that. Ela afilu ki ika darka achrina. The chiddush here is, even if there really is another option, another way to get into town, but this is a shorter access route for those people, nami, even in that case, ma'akvi, the visitors can prevent the locals from doing so. Why? Mishum de Rabbi Yehuda Marav, de Amar Rabbi Yehuda Marav Meitzar, a strip of land, a route, shechzike boy rabim, which the public has become accustomed to using. And Taisa says, dafka, if they, did it b'rishus, as opposed to just stealing somebody's property. So this was an established route for the rabbim. Osra l'kalkala, you can't remove it, you can't divert it. Amar of Anan Amar Shmuel, another halacha. Meva'os hamafalashim l'rishus harab. So you have these alleyways which lead to the street. Okay, this is just a regular town. You have streets, you have alleyways which funnel the traffic from the courtyards, from the houses, right through those side streets into the main street. And the residents of these, let's say, alleyways decided, you know what, we're going to enclose our alleyways. We're going to become a gated community. No access from the outside without permission. They decided to place doors to close off their alleyway right near the street. Can they do that? You would think they could. It's their property. No. The public can prevent this from happening. Why? So the Gemara figured at this point, this only pertains to the first 4 amas off the street, right near the street. Why? Because that's sort of a spillover of the street. Regarding other halachas as well, we find that the Rishus Hashanah sort of extends several amos into the nearby alleyways. Dalad amos hasmuchet l'Rishus Hashanah, the first 4 amos off the street, kil Rishus Hashanah damya. It's considered to a certain extent like Rishus Hashanah. We all know that if there is a suffix regarding tumah, we're not sure whether we touch something. Tell me what happens. So if it's in a Rishus Hayochad, a private domain, the halacha is your tumah misafik. If it's in a public area like Rishus Hashanah, then the halacha is your tahar. We learn this from Saita, right? So even the first portion of that alleyway adjacent to the street is considered like a Rishus Hashanah pertaining to the halacha of a suffix tumah. You consider tahar. So it goes without saying. Dalad amos ha smuches Rishus Hashanah dam. That's what we figured, that the 4 amis near the street, that is what we're talking about, because it's considered like Rishus Hashanah for other things. V'lohi, says the Gemara, actually it doesn't stop there. It's not limited to those 4 amis. Our halacha here, where we're preventing them from placing doors does not just pertain to the first section. You can't do it, period. Even further into the alleyway. Similarly in Tumah, because there, when we speak about a 4 amma section, that's regarding Tumah. So, it's close enough to the street, it's a public area, it has the same halacha as the street. But here, in terms of gating off the street, Zimnan, over here, you can't do it even deeper than 4 amas. Zimnan the dachi b'nei Yisrael v'ayli tuva. It could happen that there's a spillover, there's a big crowd out there, and they'll spill over deep into the alleyway, deep into the side streets. You have no right to put obstructions there. Okay, so we learned to halachos regarding right of use. You cannot block off a route which visitors would use to access the city. Meitzar, Sheikh Siki Boy Rabim, and likewise, you can't gate off your side streets that are near the Rosh Hashanah. So the Mishnah spoke about the concept of divisibility, meaning two people were yoresh a field, or they were partners, and one decided, I want to split up. Can he compel his partner to do so? It depends on how big it is. If there's enough there to go around to allow for a functioning entity for each one of these two parties after they divide, then you can force him to do so. But otherwise, if it's too small, it's not ein bo kedei chalukah. There isn't really enough to divide into two sections that will be functional and economically viable. Then you can't force him. And the Mishnah gives, some guidelines. L'mashal, for instance, a sada needs to be 9 kav lazeh, tisha kav lazeh, v'tisha kav lazeh. That's considered adequate for chalukah. And the other shita says no, half that much. Rabbi Yehuda says 4.5 kav per person. V'loi pligi says the more really there isn't any conceptual machlekes here. It's all about practicalities. Marki asrei. Each Tana reflected was just referring to his own community. So in his town, 9 kav was considered the minimum for economic viability. And according to the other shita, apparently the property was higher in quality. The fields were better quality. So in that case, even a smaller amount is considered reasonable. What about Bavel Mai? If you're living in Bavel, where the quality of the fields are even more inferior, so what's considered what's considered a functional piece of property? Amar Rav Yosef Beirudu Yema. It has to be large enough so that if you you rent a cow, you rent an ox for plowing, it needs to provide 1 day's worth of plowing. So basically a field which takes a day to plow. Okay? So that makes it economically viable and practical. Now, the question is like this. They used to plow pre-season, before they planted, and they used to plow post-season after they harvested, which obviously was more difficult because by that time the ground was tough and hard. So when we speak about a day's plowing, which plowing? The easier plowing or the more difficult plowing? They don't really match up, right? My Beiru Duyayma, Iyayma Zara, if it takes a day to plow pre-season, pre-planting, which is relatively easier, then by the time it's going to get to the post-season, post-harvest plant, it's going to take more than 1 day. It's not even going to take less than 2 days. I mean, you're going to be stuck in the middle. If it's a day's plowing here, then later on it's going to be a day and a half of plowing. So you're going to lose out. You're not going to have 2 full days for your to use your rental animals. On the other hand, if we speak about a day's plowing post-harvest, so then pre-harvest, which is easier, is going to take you less than a day. So again, you're not going to fill your day. So which way is it? One pshat can be Yom Dekarba. It's a day's worth at the post-harvest plow. And regarding the pre-harvest, the pre-planting, the karbatani. How are you going to fill a day? You're going to plow twice. Rashi says sometimes they would plow before they planted, sometimes after they planted in preparation, and sort of to cover it back up the seeds. So you end up filling your day. You say another option could be Yom Dezara. Today's plowing when you're planting, which is an easier job. And when it comes to post-harvest, Bahaduri. We're speaking about a difficult, tough terrain, so in which case it's going to stretch, the post-harvest plow is going to stretch for 2 days. What about Davla? Let's say people inherited a boir, a water hole, and they want to divide it. Like a rotation, I own Sunday, you own Monday. How much water does that source have to provide for it to be considered a functional entity, meaning to allow for chalukah to be divided? Amar Rav Nachman Bei Dalu Yom, same as before. It needs to provide enough water so that you can spend a day, the full day, watering your field from it. So you can hire your worker for a full day. I do that on Sunday, you do it on Monday. And if it provides that amount of water, then it's adequate to compel a division. Pardesa, what about a vineyard? How big does that have to be? Each party has to end up with 3 kav of vines. We find the same in a brisa. Reuben tells Shimon, I'm selling you a section of my vineyard. What's considered a reasonable section? It has to be at least 3, provide 3 kav. The area has to be 3 kav in size. Rashi says it's an area size. So basically, you take the cheshbon, so sayim kichatzra mishkan, so 50 by 50 amma was considered a base sa'ah, a place which I think produces a sa'ah, right? So if you take 3 kav of that sa'ah, you calculate how much, how big that field has to be, prorated according to the calculation of 50 by 50 amma being a sa'ah. So 3 kav is a half a sa'ah, so it's half that amount. Amar Rabbi Yosi, ein elu elu divr nevius. These numbers, 3 kav, and this is this number that Sumchas provides is like a prophecy. I can't really explain it. It's just like sort of a formula that he established based on his interpretation, based on maybe his Kabbalah from his Rebbe. I can't really rationalize it. In any case, in Bavel Mai, if you're living in Bavel where the properties are of inferior quality, so there, how much is considered a reasonably sized vineyard to justify this division? Meaning, a person would only be willing to put in a day's work when he has a properly sized vineyard that can produce a proper amount of yield. So basically, how big does it have to be in Bavel to be considered viable? 3 sections, b'nei treisa gufni, each one containing 12 vines, to allow for a person to plow, 1 day's plow. It's 1 day worth of plowing. Okay, on the topic of the words of the Chachamim equated to Nevuah, Rabbi Avdimi de Ben Chayfa. So he lived in Haifa, and he said like this: from the time of the destruction of our Beis Hamikdash, Nitla Nevuah and Nevi'im. Nevuah was taken away from Nevi'im. The Gemara in Saita says, right, that the last Nevi'im were Chagi, Zechariah, Malachi. Today we don't have Nevuah. So although that was removed, that was terminated, V'nitna l'chacham, but it was granted to the Torah scholars. They still have connection to Nevuah, which almost sounds like up until then, Chachamim did not have Nevuah. You had to be a non-Chacham to be a Navi. And that's pretty surprising. Atu Chacham lav Navihu. What do you mean to say? A Chacham can't be a Navi? Couldn't have been a Navi? Lav Navihu? Hachi Kamar. No, that's not what we meant to say. It was like this. Although Nevuah was removed from the Nevi'im, which of course were Chachamim as well. I mean, that's a prerequisite, right? Rambam says you have to be one of the biggest Chacham to be, right, to achieve Nevuah. But min hachachamim lenitlo. So although the heavenly endowed, gifted Nevuah was taken away, but the self-achieved perceptions of Torah and Chachma, which is self-developed and self-nurtured, min hachachamim, that aspect of heavenly acquired wisdom, loy nitla, was not terminated. Meaning you can still get there through the channel of Chachma, through immersion in spirituality and chachmas HaTorah and working through the depths of Torah, you can still achieve an aspect, an element of Nevuah, which really is, it means to say that something, you can reach heights which are really beyond your regular abilities. But it's through the channel of Chachma, through learning the Beis Medrash, rather than the channel of Nevuah, which is sort of a heavenly endowed, gifted, presence of mind and awareness, which came directly from Hashem. Actually, this level of Nevuah, the Chachma type of perception and clarity, is even greater than the Nevuah. Shenemar v'navi levav Chachma. A Navi has the heart of a Chacham, which sounds like, who's greater? Who's leaning on whom? Mi nitla b'mi, who leans on whom? Havi oimek katan nitla b'gadol. The smaller one leans on the bigger one. So when we say the Navi has like a Chacham, that indicates that a Chacham is of greater stature than a Navi. Amar Abaye Teda, I'll prove that even nowadays, there's an element of Nevuah by the Chachamim. The Amma Gava Rabbi Milsa. You have a great man, a Chacham, presenting a halacha, saying something in Torah. Umis Amra Mishmei the Gava Rabbi Achrina Kavasei, and suddenly we hear the same idea being expounded by a different Chacham. How did they both reach the same conclusion? How did they both achieve the same clarity? Apparently, it's heavenly endowed. Amar Rava, why? Umay Kushi, what's the problem? There's something called B'nei Mazel, right? If two people are born under the same auspices of the same Mazel, right? So maybe both Chacham happen to share that same element of their existence, so they both sort of reach the same conclusions in their learning. Elam Rava says, Rabbi, I'll bring you a proof to Nevuah in learning Torah. Teda, the Amma Gavra Rabbi Milsa. You have a Chacham saying something. And then we hear that the great Tana, Rabbi Akiva, who we can't even match up to, we can't get close to him. We can't say we're the same Mazel as him. He's way, way above our levels. And we hear that he said the same thing as his Chacham. Apparently it's because of the Nevuah element. Amar Rav Ashi, my Kushi, who says, true, generally Rabbi Akiva is way higher than you, but there's an element of shared mazel that they have in this aspect, in this with respect to this clarity, this insight of Torah. They share the same mazel. Elam Rav Ashi, I'll prove to you. The Amma Gab Rabbi Milsa. One day you have a Chacham saying something. Umis Amra halacha l'Moshe Messina Chavasei. Oh, here you can't say it's Bnei Chad Mazel. Here he's saying a halacha, and suddenly we get word that this same halacha is really halacha l'Moshe Sinai. It was passed down from Sinai by Moshe Rabbeinu, and this isn't something which you can just self-generate. It's not a svara. It's not, right? So apparently, how did he reach that conclusion? Because of the element of nevuah that he achieved. Says the Gemara, who says v'dilma kasuma? Maybe it's like a blind man groping through the attic, baruba, trying to find the hatch to go down. So he's walking blindly, but he can somehow chance upon the thing. So here as well, the Chacham was learning, and he chanced upon this halacha, meaning it wasn't achieved through rational analytic abilities. He just happened to reach that conclusion, like the Halach Moshe Sinai. Right? So, who says that has to do with nevuah? V'lav tama yohiv. Answers the Gemara, no, but he's giving an explanation. He's not just randomly chancing into halachas. It's Rashi says svaras halev. It's something that he's discovering intellectually. How did he get to such a thing? But Halach Moshe Sinai. The answer is, it's beyond his ability. It's beyond. But he was zoicha to be maskim, says Rashi, to the Halach Moshe Sinai, because of the element of nevuah, where Hashem endows us with siyata d'shmaya to achieve greater things than our own personal minds are capable of achieving. On this topic of nevuah, miyayim shachar beis hamikdash, After the Churban, Nitla Nevuah Nevi'im, true Nevuah was taken away from Nevi'im, but Nitna L'Shaitim U'Tanoikas. There's still an existence of Nevuah with respect to deranged people and youngsters. They encounter elements of Nevuah. L'Shaitim Mahi. Let's have an example of a Shaita encountering Nevuah. Right? So it's not, due to their own achievement, their own abilities. It's sort of granted to them by Shemayim for them to be sort of conduits for these messages. L'Shaitim Mahi. Let's have an example of a Shaita who expressed Nevuah. Kiha de Bava Basra. There was a story regarding Bava Basra. He was walking through the streets of Mechayza, the market of Mechayza. Shamay. Suddenly he hears this Shaita calling out the Gomer, saying, Reish Mesifta the Melech B'Mata Machasya. You know who's going to be the new Reish Yeshiva in the town of Mata Machasya? I'll give you a clue. Tavyumi Chasam. He signs his name Tavyumi. The Mepharshim explained Tavyumi means Toiv Yayim, a good day, very positive disposition. That's how he signs his name. He's going to be the new leader in Mata Machasya. Omar. So Bava Basra, upon hearing this, says, "Ooh, guess what? That's me. Man Chasam Tavyumi B'Rabban. Who amongst the Chachamim signs his name Tavyumi? I know it's me. Shmamino. Apparently, this is my hour of success. Come, Asa." So he quickly went to Mata Machasya to take the job. By the time he got there, Imnu Rabban already voted lo Isfeiler of Achame Difti B'Reisha. They already voted in Rav Achame Difti as Rosh Hashiva. But Kivan the Shami, the Asi. Once they heard the Asa that Bava Basra came to town, they figured, let us confirm with him that, in fact, Shadur Zugad Rabban, so he sent a pair of Chacham L'Gabei to him, to seek his advice. Akve, so he held them back. He didn't let them go back home. So the Chachamim, upon seeing that their emissaries were not returning, they sent another pair to find out what's going on. Hadur Shadur Zugad Rabban Achrina, Akve Gabei, again. He kept them with him. Until he had a total of 10 Chachamim. And once he got 10 people, he had an audience, he started saying a shir. Even the Molabi Asar, once he got 10 Chachamim there, so he started presenting a shir. Why did he need 10 people? To make it formal, to formalize it. You never give this public shir with less than 10 people. So this became his inauguration shir. He became the Rosh Hashiva. Just by default, just by circumstance, because he gave the share first. Karer of Acha Nafsheser of Acha, who was the intended candidate, upon hearing what happened, applied to himself the phrase Kol Amriin Loy, a person who was cast aside, who was pushed away. Marine is Lashon of Ra. Rashi says, once I missed the opportunity, it's not so quick that he's going to regain that status. On the other hand, he understood that he missed the opportunity, it was min hashamayim, it was bashert, and on the other hand, a person who achieves success like Bava Basra, who got this status, it's not so quick that he's going to lose it. Basically, what he was saying is, it was predestined min hashamayim, and I accept the results. So this is all generated by the Shaita who was sending messages out in the street. Tinoikis Mahi, a similar story regarding a youngster. Kihad Basra of Chizda. It was Rav Chizda's daughter. Havayasvi became Feidavo. She was sitting on her father's lap, whatever. Havayasvi Kamir Rabba, who was sitting in front of the Rebbe, Rabba V'Rami Bacham. Amarle, so Rav Chizda sort of jokingly asked his daughter, "Here, there are two men here. Mami now boys. Which one's going to be your husband?" Amarle, she says, "Tarvaya, I want them both." Amar Rabba says, "Bava Basra, I want to be the last one." And that's what happened. She married Rami Bar Chama first, who then passed away, and then she married Rabba. Amar Rabba Avdimi ben Chayfa, another lesson from the same Adamar. Before a person has his breakfast, he's so confused, he's drawn in all directions, he's pulled in two separate, right? Like he has two separate hearts, he's unfocused. But after he has a meal, he's now able to focus again. It's as though he has one heart. Shenemar, ish nevuv, an empty person, a hollow person, a hungry person, the alavev. He's drawn, he's pulled in different directions like two hearts. And we find that nevuv refers to hollowness, to chsiv nevuv luchais, right? That was by the luchais abris, by the, right? It says nevuv, and what is it, targum? How do we translate it? Chalil. luchan. The lucha is the tablets were hollow. So here as well, when it says ish navav, it's a hollow person. Before he eats ilavev, he's lacking focus. Amar Rav Huna, breder b'shua, haragel b'yayin. A person who's accustomed to drinking wine on occasion, afilu. On occasion, it means to say, it means to say that he's ruggle, but he drinks, a reasonable amount, a small, responsibly. Afilu liboy otam kipsulos. Even if his heart is closed up like a psula, meaning he's lacking focus, he's lacking concentration. Yayin afakha, his heart can be, he can achieve clarity and pristineness through the yayin, which opens up his heart again. Shnamar b'tiroish yinoivev b'sulos. Tiroish is wine. Yinoivev, it opens up, right? Like we said, nevuv means hollow. It opens up. B'sulos, his heart, which is had been closed up until now. Omar Rav Huna b'der b'shua. Okay, we all know about the halacha of bar metra. We recall from Bava Basra. Let's say I own this property here, and the property next door is now going up for sale. I have a right. I have a first right of refusal. I have a right to ask to buy that property because it's much easier for me to attend and maintain two properties next to each other, right? So that's a halacha called bar metra. I'm the occupier of the neighboring property. So that's a given, right? But now we're going to have various variations of similar halachas. Sometimes we do apply the halacha bar metra, you have a good claim, and sometimes you don't. Omar Rav Huna b'der b'shua. Pshita. In the following case, it's pretty clear that he has a right to ask for the neighboring field. Chelik b'chor, chelik pashut. So we know that a firstborn inherits double portion from his father. So you have a father passed away and left behind a bunch of fields. And Reuben is the b'chor, who's going to get 2 fields. So he wants both fields adjacent to each other. Pshita, that's clear that chelik b'chor, the second portion, chelik pashut, and the basic portion, which he wants next to each other, of course, he's entitled to that. We give it to him on the same boundary next to each other. What about Yavam? Yavam Mai. We know that if a person passes away without kids, so his brother Shimon will take over and do Yibum to his wife. Not only that, he'll overtake Reuben's property. Let's say the father passes away, leaves behind an estate. So the property which was intended for Reuben now goes to Shimon the Yavam. He takes him over. So Shimon says, look, I want my portion, my basic Yerusha for my father, and my brother's portion, which is also going to be belonging to me. I want them next to each other. Can he demand so or not? Amar Abaye, he. It's the same as before, of course. My time, why? B'chayr. Kari Rachmana. If we look in the Psukim by Yivam, V'hoya b'chayr asher teled, the Gemara Darshan is going on this Yavam. He's considered like a b'chayr, he gets the extra portion. So just like a b'chayr is entitled to ask for this bundle arrangement, the Yavam as well. B'char kari rachman. Rav Amar no. Amar Kor, the pasuk says v'haya b'char. In a certain extent, he's considered like a b'char. Haviyas like a b'char. He has a status like a b'char with respect to getting the the extra portion of inheritance. But when it comes to the nitty gritty, in terms of location, but when it comes to allocations and distributions, he doesn't have the same status as a b'char. After all, one property is his because of himself, and one is on account of his brother. 2 separate reasons, so to speak. 2 separate, reasons for ownership. In which case, it isn't necessarily considered a bundle account. How does an ara a metra de benashe? There was a story of a fellow who purchased a field next to his family's, his own family's estate. Kiko Palu, when his father passed away, and now him and his brothers were splitting up the estate, he wanted the property near his purchase. Amar Lui tells them, "Peliguli amitzray, please give me the property next to my." Amar Rabbas. Rabbas says, "Of course he has a right to claim so." Kigoyin said, "This is the classic example of kaifin amidas time." In Stein, they give people a hard time for no reason. Here, look, what do you have to lose? Let me have the property next to my existing property. Maskef Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef says, "No, we're speaking here about a property which is watered by hand. It's not a naturally wet place, so it has its own water source, whatever. So here, it's precarious. It's temperamental. Sometimes a field is successful, sometimes it's a failed crop. So we don't want to give you this field. We want to sort of take a piece of every property just to broaden our portfolio, to take so that we have more chance of success. We don't want to give you this property and take the other one for ourselves. Malina le'iluyah, we consider this property to be very valuable. Kinichse the Barmarian, like the Barmarians, high quality property. It's just an expression, basically. Who's to say which property will be successful, which property won't? We don't want to just give you away this entire place. We also want a portion of it. And that's the conclusion. V'ilchasok Rav Yosef, that he can't demand the entire property. What about Trei Arata, a Trei Nigri? So, actually Rashi says, that the previous field was a Stehabal, which was naturally watered by rainwater. So here it's unknown. It's season dependent. So it's an unknown situation, and they want to take less chances in terms of committing themselves to only a certain field. So they each want a portion of each field. This way, they feel more secure. So on the next Gemara, Trei Arata, right? So you have two properties, Atrei Nigri. These are called the Beis HaShalachim, meaning they need to be manually watered. So it's just a type of field, a more arid, dry field. So there are two properties here, Atrei Nigri, with two separate irrigation ditches running alongside each property. So here, look, there's no advantage to one property over the other, right? Because it's manually irrigated and it's right. So here the fellow can say, look, I have a property near this one. I want this one as mine. Amar Rabba, kigoin zeh koifin midas time. Look, if you're gonna stand in his way, you're doing midas time. What do you have to lose? Give him the property that he's choosing. Maska for Rabbi Yosef, no, here as well. They want to divide both properties and take a section of each property. Why Zimnin? Because it can happen the high midville, high low midville. Irrigation ditches sometimes dry up. Maybe this one will dry up, rendering this field a failure, a failed crop, and this field will be successful because his irrigation ditch is still running. High low midville. So this one is midville, this will have water. High low midville, this will not have water. So they can refuse his demands, and that's the halacha v'ilchas Rav Yosef. What about Tarti Achad Nigr? Let's say both properties are adjacent to one single irrigation ditch. So either it's all or nothing, right? So either they're both successful or they're both not successful. And Rabbi Yosef, in this case, he has a right to claim this property which is next to his pre-existing purchase. So Abaye says no. Maybe even in this case they can hold him back. Matzi Omar, because the other fellow can respond, look, you have a property here. And now, to the right of your property, right, there are two of these properties here that we're dealing with. You want the one next to yours. I say, no, I want the one next to yours, and I'll give you the one at the other extreme, so that I'm surrounded by good caretakers. My field is safe and guarded, right? Properly looked after, protected from intruders. Right? Matzi Yomar, you could say, I want all your sharecroppers, your workers, your farmers surrounding my field, which is not going to be landlocked, so to speak, in between yours. I want that extra security. No, Vilchas Rabbi Yosef, the Gemara disagrees. Halachas Rabbi Yosef, Afushi Arisa La Milsa. You can't have this type of claim. I mean, all right, you have to rely on his workers to protect your field. So in this case, certainly he has a right to take the field next to his. Here comes an interesting case. Chad Gisa Nagro, Chad Gisa Nahara. So we have this huge property, and on one side, so you have the diagram in Rashi here. So the Nahar, there's a river on the Mizrach, right, on the top, running along the top, from right to left. And on the left, running from top to bottom, you have a Nigra, like this irrigation ditch. Now, what's better? A nahar, of course, a nahar is better than a naturally flowing body of water. Is more reliable than a nigra, than a irrigation ditch that can, tend to dry up. So, how do you divvy up this property, right? Everybody wants the part that's closer to the river. So the only way to get around this, chad gisa nahara, chad gisa nagra, palgin, we split it bekarna zul. Zul means you follow the karna system, the corner system, sort of the triangle system, right? You make like a bunch of triangles, like a square pizza pie, right? You divide into slices, and you alternate. So let's say starting from the top right corner, Darei Mizrach, let's say going counterclockwise. So you start with Ruvain, that section near the Nahar, and beside him you have Shimon section. So now they have an equal connection to the Nahar. Then you move over to the left. You have Ruvain near the Nagra, but also near the Nahar, and you have Shimon just near the Nagra. Then you come down to the bottom. You have Reuben and Shimon on that side. On the right side, you have Reuben and Shimon as well. So it turns out that they all, have equal proximity to the Nahar and to the Nagra, and it's a fair division. Now, in terms of connecting the sections, so presumably they can they're connected in the middle, right? So they can technically go from one of the, each fellow can access his own section on the other side through the middle point, the midpoint where they connect. Okay, let's recap today's DAF. We discussed halachas regarding right of way. You have to allow the rabbin to continue using their access routes. You can't just block things off. We discussed the minimum size regarding fields and vineyards, which justify a compelled division. I discussed the element of nevuah, which is found even nowadays when it comes to the chachamim, when it comes to learning Torah, the siyat d'shmai, that we're zeicha beyond our personal abilities. We discussed nevuah being granted to shaitim and tanaikas with some stories which illustrated that. The advantage of eating breakfast to achieve a focused mind, and various halachas regarding the halachas of bar mitzvah. All the best to you, b'suras tevas, and hatzlacha rabbah.